312 years of unbroken dominance had not prepared Ellery Vex for the sound of a human chewing. Loudly, incessantly, as though his molars were trying to declare war on whatever crunchy thing he'd pulled from his pack. She glared sideways. He caught the glance, offered a grin that would have looked smug on a Phyrexian lizard, and held out a bright orange foil wrapper. Want one? They taste like regret and artificial cheese. She blinked. I'd rather eat thermal shielding. Suit yourself. Mason Holt popped another square into his mouth. More for me and my impending gastrointestinal disaster. They crouched behind a shattered mineral skimmer, its hull still steaming from the blast that had nearly killed them both. Somewhere beyond the ridge, the smoke trails of the Dominion escort ship curled into the lavender sky like dying snakes. Her mission, delicate, covert, already fraying at the seams, was now officially a funeral procession waiting for a body count. She had no patience left. You could at least chew with your mouth closed. I'm multitasking, Holt replied cheerfully. Chewing, scanning for hostiles, annoying you. That's called field efficiency. A pulse of static lit her comm implant. Useless. Jammed. She tried the override sequence again, fingers dancing through the interface on her forearm. No signal, no Dominion backup, no extraction beacon, just a half-functional exosuit, a rapidly bleeding energy core, and this absurdly chatty human with a penchant for snacks and suicidal heroism. She should have left him in the ravine. And yet, she hadn't. When the blast came, tearing through the diplomatic caravan, it was Holt who dove toward her, knocking her behind a transport panel, shielding her body with his like she was something fragile. Ellery Vex had not been treated as fragile since before her first orbital kill. She wasn't sure whether to be insulted or impressed. Now, crouched in the ruins of what had once been an Imperial mine road, she watched as he calibrated a rudimentary energy scanner, using parts she hadn't realized he'd salvaged. His hands were quick, filthy, and undeniably clever. The device buzzed weakly to life. Got movement. Southwest slope. 4 signatures, maybe 5. They're sweeping low, not Dominion standard pattern. She narrowed her eyes. Mercenaries? Or someone worse, like intergalactic debt collectors. But yeah, probably mercs. She hissed under her breath. This was an inside job. He didn't argue, just nodded once. Your people or mine? Mine, she said bitterly. Nice, that's a twist. I had credits on mine. Guess I owe myself a drink. Do you ever stop talking? Sure, usually when I'm unconscious or dead. Want to test it? Against her will, a corner of her mouth twitched. He caught it and raised both eyebrows like he'd just won something. She turned away, focusing on the ridge. We need elevation. The caves to the east lead into the Zareen Cliffs. From there, I can reroute my suit's power matrix and attempt a long-range signal. Climbing cliffs with a leaking energy core and no backup. Sounds like my kind of Tuesday. I am not requesting your company. Too bad, you've got it. Consider it an unsolicited subscription. Do you ever tire of being infuriating? Once, briefly, it passed. They moved at dusk, skirting the remains of the diplomatic wreckage. The air shimmered with ionic residue, and ash drifted like dead snow. Ellery scanned the path ahead, counting 3 separate boot prints that weren't theirs. She adjusted her balance, favoring her left side. Her right shoulder still ached from the explosion. Behind her, Holt hummed, badly. What are you doing? Building morale. Studies show humming increases group cohesion. You made that up. Maybe, but it's catchy, right? She bit back a reply. They climbed, feet scraping volcanic stone, every breath thinner with altitude. Her vision pulsed with fatigue, but she wouldn't show it. He, of course, noticed anyway. You know, for someone who probably bench presses satellites, you don't hide pain very well. And you're unusually observant for a species with single-digit IQs. I'm a mutant, born with the rare gift of situational awareness and devastating charm, neither of which is helping us survive. I disagree. My charm got you to tolerate me for more than 10 minutes. That's survival-grade progress. They reached the first cave mouth just as the second sun dipped below the ridge, staining the sky crimson. Inside, it was cool, damp, and surprisingly quiet. She activated her internal light. Holt lit a flare. Shadows fled in every direction. She sank down onto a stone ledge and accessed her suit's diagnostic core. Faint sparks danced across her screen. Damage worse than she thought. Holt handed her a water ration without asking. Thanks, she murmured, surprised. You're welcome, Elle. Her gaze snapped up. Do not abbreviate my name. But Ellery Vex sounds like a villain in a soap opera. Elle's friendlier. I am not your friend. Not yet, he said with a grin. But give it time. She looked at him, really looked. Dust-caked skin, torn uniform, a healing burn on his neck. And still, that damn grin. Somewhere in the hollow of her chest, something shifted. Annoying. You risked your life back there. He shrugged. Figured if I let you die, the paperwork would be insane. And if I'd let you die, I'd have peace and quiet. Well, I'm flattered you didn't. She hesitated, then asked, quietly, awkwardly, like a child tasting a strange fruit. Why? He blinked. Why what? Why did you save me? His answer came after a pause. Not flippant, not sarcastic. Because you didn't look ready to die. They stared at each other across the firelight, the crackle of flame the only sound. She didn't reply. Couldn't. Instead, she turned back to her diagnostics, fingers trembling slightly. He laid down, folding his arms behind his head, and stared up at the stone ceiling. Just so you know, he said casually, if this ends with us both dead, I want it recorded that I made at least one alien laugh before I croaked. I did not laugh. You almost did. She rolled her eyes. Sleep, human. Sweet dreams, Elle. She closed her eyes. She did not dream. But somehow she felt slightly less alone in the dark. The cave air smelled of minerals and mold, but to Ellery it was the scent of reprieve. For the first time in 14 hours, nothing was exploding. She could almost pretend she wasn't being hunted by traitors. Almost. Mason Holt was trying to roast a nutrition bar over a flare stick. You know that's not food, right? She said without looking up from her suit's diagnostic screen. Technically, it's labeled edible in emergencies. This is definitely an emergency. Plus, toasting it makes it feel like civilization. You are holding pressed protein paste over a chemical flame. It's called romance under fire, Elle. I am not sharing a cave with you so you can perform culinary experiments. You're just jealous you didn't think of it first. She didn't answer. Her suit's power matrix was stabilizing, but barely. Rerouting energy to communications meant shutting down most environmental controls, which explained why her fingers were numb and her breath fogged the air. Holt tore off a corner of his now semi-melted ration and offered it. True snack? I'd rather lick the cave wall. Your loss tastes like regret and vaguely chicken-shaped despair. He chewed thoughtfully while she ran another scan of their surroundings. Life signs were faint in the deeper tunnels, just the occasional scurrying of native creatures. But above them, closer to the ridge, 6 signatures had appeared. Organized, sweeping, methodical. Not wild beasts, not a wandering salvage crew. No, these were professionals, her people, or what was left of them. They'll be on us in under 2 hours, she said. Then we'd better make ourselves scarce. There's a sub-level access hatch in the northeast quadrant of this system. It connects to an old survey line. If we're lucky, it's collapsed. If we're really lucky, it leads us somewhere that doesn't immediately involve our deaths. Always the optimist. She closed the scanner. You first. He stood, stretched, and winced. For the record, I'm now 50% bruise and 30% sarcasm. And 20% useless, I assume. No, that part's all charm. They moved carefully, passing through stone corridors carved by early colonists. Decades-old support beams creaked under their weight. The deeper they went, the colder it got. Frost lined the metal struts. At one point, Holt slipped on ice, swore loudly, and only avoided landing flat by grabbing her arm. Still not dead, he muttered. Try harder. I will. Later. After we find the hatch. And maybe after you admit I'm growing on you. She gave him a look that could melt steel. He responded with a grin. The hatch was rusted shut. Ellery examined the ancient control panel and exhaled slowly. Dominion design, centuries old, pre-standard encryption. She'd studied this architecture during her academy years, mostly to mock how primitive it was. Now she needed it to save her life. She knelt and interfaced her forearm device. The system protested, squealed, buzzed in outdated dialects. She coaxed it like a sleeping beast, fingers dancing through override patterns. Behind her, Holt asked, Ever think about switching careers to locksmithing? If we survive this, I will consider becoming a hermit. You'll miss me. I will miss silence. He leaned against the wall, humming again. This time it was something vaguely tuneful. I can hear you humming. I'm distracting the hatch. It might open faster. That is not how machines work. It is how I work. She ignored him and pressed the final sequence. The hatch hissed, then shuddered open with the sound of a dying animal. Cold vapor spilled out. Beyond it was a narrow shaft, descending into darkness. He peered in. Looks friendly. Move. After you. She dropped down first. The shaft smelled of ozone and time. Her boots hit metal. She looked up and caught his legs swinging down, then cursed as he slipped and landed awkwardly beside her. You all right? I think I sprained my optimism. They stood in a narrow tram tunnel, long dormant. Ancient lights flickered dimly along the curve of the ceiling. The air was stale but breathable. Signal? She checked. Still dead, but the interference is weaker here. If we reach the transit control center, I can boost it. Lead the way, fearless leader. They walked, boots echoing on steel, accompanied only by the hum of ancient circuits and Holt's occasional muttering about horror movies and how this is exactly how the doomed crew dies. Statistically, she said, humans overestimate the probability of death when underground. Statistically, aliens underestimate human stubbornness. Is that your explanation for everything? That and snacks. After 20 minutes, the tunnel widened into a service station. Terminals lined the walls, most dead. One still blinked. She approached it carefully and connected her interface. The system sparked to life, screens sputtering with old Dominion glyphs. As she navigated the command matrix, Holt wandered to a nearby crate, pried it open, and pulled out a sealed metal cylinder. Hey, I found something. If it explodes, I will leave your remains behind. It's labeled coffee substitute, grade C. We're saved. She snorted despite herself. He looked back at her, eyes bright. There, that was almost a laugh. Do not hallucinate. It's a symptom of oxygen deprivation. He grinned. Admit it, I'm growing on you. Like fungus. But in a good way. She opened her mouth to retort, but the terminal beeped. Her eyes snapped to it. A message. Short range, encoded, bouncing off a Dominion satellite still in orbit. She decrypted it. Her hands froze. What is it? She didn't answer. Ellery? She turned slowly. You were embedded with us by DEI, weren't you? He went still. The playfulness drained from his face. You found the file. You were planted to monitor me, to watch the Dominion talks. This wasn't coincidence. No, he said quietly. It wasn't. The silence stretched. But, he added, I was supposed to leave you behind when the blast hit. I didn't. She stared at him. I made a choice. You think I risked my life, dragged your unconscious body out of fire, ran with you through hostile terrain because of an assignment? I don't know. Well, figure it out fast, he said, voice sharper now. Because we're running out of time, and I don't plan on dying for someone who can't decide if I'm a spy or an ally. I didn't ask you to die for me. No, you didn't. You didn't ask me anything, which is fine. You're the unstoppable Commander Ellery Vex. You don't need anyone, except maybe you do. She took a step back, something bitter burning in her throat. I'm here, he said softly. I'm still here. She didn't know what to say. For once, her logic failed her. Her calculations led nowhere. She just stood there staring at the man who shouldn't have mattered, but somehow did. And then the scanner beeped. Movement. 6 signatures, converging. She drew her weapon. We move. Now. He followed, no hesitation. And even as they ran, she knew. The question was still burning inside her. Unspoken, but coming. They emerged into the ruins of an old planetary relay station just as the first of the trackers breached the tunnel behind them. Ellery sealed the bulkhead with a magnetic override and set the fail-safe charges with a precision that was almost bored. Holt, meanwhile, crouched beside a half-collapsed console and muttered to himself. If we die in here, he said, I'd like to formally state that it was an honor being insulted by you. If we die in here, Ellery replied, I'll make sure your tombstone reads, Here lies Mason Holt, ambassador of poor life choices. Poetic. Maybe add a skull etching for flair. She ignored him and moved to the central hub. The relay systems were fried centuries ago, but the auxiliary core might still hold enough juice for a data burst. She traced the cabling, pried open a floor panel, and descended into a chamber thick with dust and the scent of ozone. Her boots crunched on ancient debris. Holt followed, boots echoing behind her. "Looks cozy," he said. "Very doomsday bunker chic." It was designed to withstand solar flares, orbital debris, and interstellar invasion. Yet somehow it wasn't designed to withstand time. Classic design flaw. The core unit was there, blinking weakly, like an old man remembering songs from his youth. She accessed the interface, fingers working quickly. The signal boost protocol was archaic, but she could feel the potential, like a match ready to burn if only struck correctly. Holt stood beside her, watching. "So, what are we sending?" "A truth." He tilted his head. "That's vague and ominous. Two of my least favorite things." "The Dominion believes I'm a liability," she said without looking at him. "They sent a kill order this morning." He was quiet for a long time. "And yet," she continued, voice low, "I'm still here. Because you pulled me out. Because you disobeyed your orders. Because you made me laugh. I didn't know I could do that." "Well," he said, rubbing the back of his neck, "I am fairly hilarious. I'm going to send a message to the Alliance outpost on Helon 6. They'll intercept it. With the right phrasing, I can expose the internal betrayal without triggering a purge. But if I do this, I'm burning my bridges." Wasn't really much left of those bridges. She looked at him. Number. But maybe something better. He swallowed. That sounded dangerously close to sentiment. "I'm working on it." She finished calibrations, hit the transmit switch. The relay core flared once, bright, blinding, then fell dark forever. Above them, the roof trembled. "They're coming through," Holt said. "We hold until the outpost responds. And if they don't," she drew her weapon, "then we improvise." "I hate improvising." "You're good at it." "I am. Doesn't mean I like it." The first detonation rocked the corridor. Stone rained from above. Ellery braced against the wall, gun aimed, heart steady. Holt beside her, posture loose, deceptively casual, as if he were about to offer a tour of the facility. Then, against all logic, the console chimed. Signal response confirmed. She sprinted back to the interface, eyes flying over the text. "Outpost Helon 6 received message. Evac en route, ETA, 6 minutes. Holt grinned. "Plenty of time." More blasts. The wall cracked. They backed up into the shadow of the chamber. "I've got 5 micro grenades," he said. "You." 7 charges, precision set, no shrapnel. "I always said you were neat." Voices echoed through the corridor. Dominion, distorted by gear and tension. She whispered, "They don't know we've sent the message." "Then let's keep them busy until the cavalry arrives." The firefight that followed was fast, brutal, and, if Holt was to be believed, accompanied by a playlist he kept in his head titled "Dramatic Last Stands and Other Poor Life Decisions." He hummed parts of it as he ducked return fire and lobbed grenades like someone tossing snacks into a party bowl. Between cover flips and plasma bursts, he shouted, "Hey, Elle, when this is over, you owe me dinner." "If we live," she replied, laying down fire. "I'll let you choose the protein paste." "That's the most romantic thing anyone's ever said to me." A blast scorched her shoulder. She dropped, rolled, gritted her teeth. Holt was there instantly, dragging her behind a pillar. "You all right?" "Fine." "You smell like grilled disappointment." She barked a short laugh, then winced. "You're also bleeding." "I noticed." He yanked a patch from his belt and slapped it over her armor joint. "There. Medic of the year." The final charge detonated behind them, sealing the approach. Silence fell, thick and heavy. They waited. Then, a rumble overhead. "Engines. Dropcraft." She helped him up. "Extraction's here." "You think they brought snacks?" She didn't answer. She just limped toward the exit, him at her side, smoke curling around them like an old memory. Outside, the cold air hit them like a slap. The dropcraft hovered with its hatch open, Alliance colors blazing across its side. A soldier leaned out. "You Vex?" "I am." "Orders from Helon 6. You're under protective custody, both of you." She glanced at Holt. He raised an eyebrow. "Protective custody," he said. "Sounds cozy." They climbed in. The hatch sealed. The engines rose. As the world below shrank into clouds and fire, Ellery finally let herself exhale. "You all right?" he asked. "I don't know." "That's okay. I think I don't know is a pretty big step for you." She leaned back in her seat, looked at him. "Mason Holt." "Yes?" Why did you really save me? He hesitated. Then he smiled. Quiet, honest, tired. Because you needed someone, and I was there. That's all. No mission? No mission. She stared at him. Then finally she asked the one question that had burned behind her ribs since the moment she woke up beside him on the forest floor. If I had been just anyone, just a soldier, just another alien, you still would have risked everything? He met her gaze without flinching. Yeah, I would have. She nodded slowly, and for the first time in her life, she believed it. The ship rose into the stars.